What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American Politics, back in with a new video. And today, it is time that we discuss an important topic that I don't think enough people are truly discussing about the polling this cycle. That is, this may be the worst polling cycle we have ever seen. Worse than 2016, worse than 2020, potentially way worse, like not even close to being bad, right? Not, that 2020 wasn't bad, but 2020 would look good in comparison to how crap the polling's going to look this cycle. Now, before I forget, of course, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash a like button down below, subscribe, share it with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes, of course, go follow the mysterious Twitter account in the description down below. Also, join the channel. That is right, folks. For just 10 cents a day, you could join Real American Politics. You get a good feeling in your heart, as if you join, you get a good feeling in your heart knowing, hey, I joined Real American Politics. I'm continuing the daily content. We all enjoy that. Alright, sorry about that, folks. I just had to clear my throat because, I don't know, a little bit sick today. Okay, let's get into it. Enough bull crap. So what am I talking about? Well, I was browsing through the RCP polling aggregate, and I've noticed a very unique trend. A trend that I cannot believe is happening once again. Alright, I cannot believe this is the same thing that happened in 2020 appears to be happening once again. Alright, folks, sorry about that quick pause, just I had a cough off screen, but point is, what am I talking about? So, I went through the polling aggregate and I realized something. None of these polls except two of the 7 polls in the polling aggregate is likely voter polls. Think about that for a second. 2 of the 7 polls currently in the aggregate is a likely voter screen. And you know what that means? There's a big difference between registered voter and likely voter. Registered voter means you know the voter's registered, but you have no clue if they intend on voting, if they're likely to vote, or anything like that. As for likely voter screens, or I should say likely voter polls, they have a screen where they say, okay, we're going to look at this voter's past history. We're going to look at, his demographics, etc. And we're going to see if he's likely or not to vote this cycle. Now, in 2020, a lot of these polls had some pretty bad likely voter screens. I'm not going to lie. They had some bad ones. But generally speaking, likely voter screens, excuse me, wow, my throat is kind of dead right now. But point is, likely voter screens in 2020 were significantly more accurate than registered voter polls in 2020 and 2016. The issue with likely voter screens for most polls has always been they screen out way too many people. For example, Emerson. I like their polling usually. The problem with them lately has they've been using such an excessive likely voter screen. Like, they're only including those that are basically 100% they're gonna vote. That's a problem, because a lot of these, Trump voters, beforehand, their voting history is basically nothing. They've never voted. But Trump awakened a huge part of the population that are voting more and more elections. The problem is they don't reach these voters, and when they do, they tend to screen them out because, well, you see here, they have never voted before. Or they voted once. They're unlikely to vote. That's a problem that every pollster has to deal with. Some are better at dealing with it, like Trafalgar or Big Data, but others struggle. But either way, likely voter screens, at least they try to get voters of the electorate in the sample. But only 2 of the 7 polls in the aggregate are likely voter polls. And look at this. we could keep going. It's the same thing this entire cycle. If it's after, I would say, July 4th, and the polling is non-likely voter. Alright, sorry about that, folks. Once again, my recording kind of just, cut out for a split second. But like what I was trying to say, these polls, basically this entire cycle, alright, especially after July 4th, that's the key date for polling. They've all been registered voter polls, alright? Basically all of them. After July 4th, that's inexcusable. Beforehand, fine. You can make the argument it's too early in the cycle. We don't know who's going to vote or not. But after July 4th, there's no reason to be pushing out registered voter polls. But essentially, only 2 pollsters have regularly pushed out likely voter polls for the generic ballot: Rasmussen and Trafalgar. Now, there's been others like, I think it was GUS, I think it's called. I don't know. I think NBC or CBS? Yeah, CBS was one of them. They're the only pollsters trying to get a likely voter sample, but they're failing miserably. Well, I should say failing, all right? Maybe CBS is, but what I'm saying is the other polls, all right? They're failing at doing their basic job as pollsters. And it's starting to, really be obvious. Why? I made a spreadsheet. I made a basic spreadsheet of 2022 polls in the RCP aggregate. I took the last 4 polls, all right, of the registered voter polls and the likely voter polls, and I weighed them by sample size, and this is the result. Registered voter polls, all right, in this last 4 registered voter polls, they had an average lead, or I should say a weighed lead, for the Democrats of 3.7%, all right? They have a Democrats of 43.5%, essentially, while Republicans were at 41.5%. Well, for the likely voter polls, this is the point I'm trying to make. Democrats were at 43.2%, while Republicans were at 45.2%. Now, this 2.1, what it is just, it's just rounding up. But point is, Republicans are vastly doing better on likely voter screens by around 5 points. Now, where have we seen this before? Oh, wait, I went back to 2020, did the same thing, and compared the final results to it. Look at this. The registered voter polls at the same time, right? This is the exact same time, had Republicans down by 8 points. The final result, they lost the generic ballot by around 3. It was around a 5-point miss. While likely voter poll, which includes ones like YouGov and Monmouth, they were within the margin of error. They were basically within the margin of error for the final result. And this was a couple months prior. I mean, Republicans lost the generic ballot by 3. The likely voter polls had them around 6. Think about that. The likely voter polls performed vastly better than registered polls in 2020. Why wouldn't it be any different today? What's different between now and 2020? Seriously. Oh, COVID? Maybe. Maybe COVID's a part of the big miss in 2020. But these polls, the likely and registered voter, polling, all right, has become so different. I mean, look at this. Likely voters have a 6-point or I should say 6-point boost to the Republicans compared to registered voter polls. Compare that to 2020, or I should say, 2020. It was only a 2-point advantage for Republicans. Like, okay, likely voter polls, slightly Republicans overperformed it. Slightly. But now, it's a bigger gap. So that's my point I'm trying to make. There's a serious shot this is the worst polling cycle ever. And we can look at other polls, but I just want to look at the generic ballot for reasons, because it's quite easy to understand, and it's quite obvious to show you how this polling cycle is really going to be. Anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share it to friends, hit the little bell, and yes, of course, go follow the mysterious Twitter account in the description down below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Godspeed to all of you.